How can you identify card payment fraud? So card payment fraud, it's rather classic type of fraud. You know, card payments been around since the late 80s. And what I like about card payment fraud is that I still think that even today, we need to look at us customers as creatures of habits, right? I strongly believe that when we use our cards and the way we use our cards and payment cards in general, uh, we we as a customers, as people, we have a certain pattern that we follow, even without realizing that we are behaving in a pattern. And I think profiling your customers and really understanding how they use their cards, when they use their cards, what type of activity they're doing is really the key to success in fighting card payment fraud. And some examples for that could be, um, think about it that way. If your customer is, let's say he is a 20-year-old university student, he will probably behave differently from a person who, let's say, is a 75-year-old person who already retired. You will see different activities, different type of transaction, different volumes, even different activities during the time of the day. You will have younger people more active during the later hours of the day, while maybe older customers will be more active during the mornings. So all those different elements that you know and you collect about your customers, you can use for successful customer profiling. And when you have good customer profiling, basically you can apply predictive behavior analysis and really try to understand whether or not the transaction that we're seeing right now fitting the pattern that we already recognize with that specific customer. And I think what Connor can demo for us today is um, a way how we will create rule to show how customers will, let's say, act out of pattern. And another demo that Connor will do for us today is really around, for example, detecting card testing. So if we see on the merchant level that something is happening and it's not supposed to happen, for example, we see many transactions during 1 hour, or maybe many transactions during even 12 hours, that is not usually how we see a specific merchant. We can try to detect any type of card testing today. So Connor, if you can show us the demos.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first demo is going to be that card testing scenario where we want to look for specific type of entities. We want to look for entities who are on the receiving end of transactions. And we might also want to do some filtering and only look at entities that are businesses rather than individuals. And then we'll want to flag on a really high volume. So let's say in maybe a 1 hour period, we see more than 100 transactions that meet this criteria. And so we're essentially looking for a business receiving 100 transactions, and maybe we want to add that these are credit card transactions as well.
Yeah, and usually those come in very small amounts. So if you can filter out, let's say, transactions anywhere between 5 cents to maybe up to $0.50, this is usually the amount that we see around card testing. You can refine the rule pretty much with any filter to make it more accurate. And that way, once it's flagged, you actually can see that, oh, okay, I have 100 of my cards are currently involved in some card testing scheme, and it's probably a good time to freeze those cards before the actual fraudulent usage will start. And another thing I like to address when we consider how to create strategy for card payments is if you allow your customers to operate domestically and internationally, I think it's healthy to really separate the two strategies together, one from another. Because if you think about it, the way we shop and the way we behave as consumers domestically, whether it's where we live or maybe when we shop, for the day-to-day needs, it's very different from the way we shop when we go on vacation, when we go internationally, when we go abroad. So it's also a good idea to separate the strategies and really be more vigilant around the international activities, so you can be more specific around, let's say, different MCC codes and different thresholds. So, for example, if somebody doing $300 of groceries domestically, and it makes sense because he has a family to feed. You see this type of transaction internationally, you can ask yourself a question, well, does it make sense for that consumer to be out of the state right now, making that type of transaction? Probably not. So I think separating the strategy to domestic and international, it's a great idea.